10 most intelligent people in the history. The world has seen a hell lot of geniuses. But we only have a handful of people who not only changed the direction of knowledge, but also influenced millions through their vision. Here are 10 of the most intelligent geniuses in the history, or at least as far as 2 Western scientific studies had afforded us. 10. Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was born in 356 BC. Following his father's assassination, Alexander succeeded him to the Macedon throne, and the 20-year-old king ruthlessly murdered all of his rivals to the crown. This ruthlessness would contribute to Alexander conquering most of the known world with an empire that stretched for 10,000 miles and encompassed the Mediterranean, most of Europe, and touched the borders of India. His greatest victory was at the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BC, in what today is Iraq. When he died in 323 BC, in suspicious circumstances at the age of just 32, he left behind a huge empire in which a cultural revolution had started, but which was always on the brink of a fall into chaos. 9. Michelangelo. Tied with a French philosopher is another Italian Renaissance man, the sculptor, painter, architect, poet, and engineer, Michelangelo. Famed for his masterpieces, namely David, Pietà, Sistine Chapel, The Last Judgment, and the creation of Adam. Many experts even argued he is the greatest artist of all time, a subjective account yet not without substance considering his contributions to the high Renaissance art. 8. Thomas Alva Edison, February 11, 1847 to October 18, 1931. He was an American inventor and businessman who has been described as America's greatest inventor. He developed many devices in fields such as electric power generation, mass communication, sound recording, and motion pictures. These inventions, which include the phonograph, the motion picture camera, and the long-lasting, practical electric light bulb, have had a widespread impact on the modern industrialized world. He was one of the first inventors to apply the principles of organized science and teamwork to the process of invention, working with many researchers and employees. He established the first industrial research laboratory. 7. Leonardo da Vinci, April 15, 1452 to May 2, 1519. He was an Italian Renaissance man. His genius spanned across science and art. Best known for his Mona Lisa, da Vinci was actually more than an exceptionally talented painter. He was a mathematician, engineer, inventor, sculptor, architect, geologist, cartographer, botanist, and writer. He was the epitome of the Renaissance man, bringing to the world his wealth of knowledge to advance mankind's fate. Edison married twice and fathered 6 children. He died in 1931 of the complications of diabetes. 6. William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was an English poet, playwright, and actor, widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's preeminent dramatist. He is often called England's national poet and the Bard of Avon, or simply the Bard. His extant works, including collaborations, consist of some 39 plays, 154 sonnets, 2 long narrative poems, and a few other verses, some of uncertain authorship. His plays have been translated into every major living language and are performed more often than those of any other playwright. 5. Adolf Hitler. He was a German politician and leader of the Nazi Party. He rose to power as Chancellor of Germany in 1933 and as leader in 1934. During his dictatorship from 1933 to 1945, he initiated World War II in Europe by invading Poland on September 1, 1939. He was closely involved in military operations throughout the war and was central to the perpetration of the Holocaust. Hitler's actions and ideology are almost universally regarded as evil. Under Hitler's leadership and racially motivated ideology, the Nazi regime was responsible for the genocide of at least 5.5 million Jews and millions of other victims whom he and his followers deemed subhuman or socially undesirable. 4. Galileo Galilei. He was an astronomer, physicist and engineer, sometimes described as a polymath from Pisa. Galileo has been called the father of observational astronomy, the father of modern physics, the father of the scientific method, and the father of modern science. Galileo studied speed and velocity, gravity and free fall, the principle of relativity, inertia, projectile motion, and also worked in applied science and technology, describing the properties of pendulums and hydrostatic balances, inventing the thermoscope and various military compasses, and using the telescope for scientific observations of celestial objects. 3. Stephen William Hawking. He was an English theoretical physicist, cosmologist, and author who was director of research at the Centre for Theoretical Cosmology at the University of Cambridge at the time of his death. He was the Lucasian Professor of Mathematics at the University of Cambridge between 1979 and 2009. Hawking was the first to set out the theory of cosmology, explained by a union of the general theory of relativity and quantum mechanics. In 1963, Hawking was diagnosed with an early-onset slow-progressing form of motor neuron disease, also known as amyotrophic lateral sclerosis or Lou Gehrig's disease, that gradually paralyzed him over the decades. Even after the loss of his speech, he was still able to communicate through a speech-generating device, initially through use of a handheld switch, and eventually by using a single cheek muscle. He died on March 14, 2018 at the age of 76, after living with the disease for more than 50 years. 2. Isaac Newton. He was an English mathematician, physicist, astronomer, theologian, and author who is widely recognized as one of the most influential scientists of all time, and a key figure in the scientific revolution. His book Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, first published in 1687, laid the foundations of classical mechanics. Newton also made seminal contributions to optics and shares credit with Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz for developing the infinitesimal calculus. 1. Albert Einstein. He was a German-born theoretical physicist who developed the theory of relativity, one of the two pillars of modern physics, alongside quantum mechanics. His work is also known for its influence on the philosophy of science. He received the 1921 Nobel Prize in Physics for his services to theoretical physics, and especially for his discovery of the law of the photoelectric effect, a pivotal step in the development of quantum theory.